I want to give you all an update on Adnan Syed. In episode 217 of the Spun Today podcast, I told you all about how after 23 years in prison, Adnan Syed, the central person behind the acclaimed first season of the Serial podcast, had his verdict overturned and was released from prison. His release was in light of two other suspects that were not pursued at the time, and the decision to either retry him or to drop the case altogether was still pending. And now all charges have been dropped. Prosecutors conducted new DNA tests on items from the crime scene that had never been tested before because the technology was not available at the time. And they found a DNA mixture of multiple contributors on Heyman Lee's shoes, none of which were Adnan Syed's DNA. Now that's bittersweet, right? Because on one hand, you're like, Adnan got justice. It took 23 fucking years for it to happen, but he got justice and he was set free. But on the flip side, Heyman Lee and her family haven't gotten justice and are on this roller coaster ride of emotions that I could only imagine, where they thought, according to the justice system, that they had the person responsible for killing their daughter, come to find 23 years later that it wasn't him and that whoever it was probably still be out there. And I say probably just assuming that they're not either dead or locked up due to another crime. And I hear this and I'm like, one, how much do these DNA tests cost? And two, shouldn't it be mandatory in any of these cases like this, where folks are maintaining their innocence and there is doubt, but through legalese, mumbo jumbo, technicalities, they're rotting away in a prison cell? Shouldn't it be mandatory to test and retest as technology improves? I think so. And I think so like not in a damn, somebody should try to figure out some sort of way to make that financially feasible. Like, I think so in a wholeheartedly, of course, that should be part of correcting for the wrongs of the justice system. And the financial aspect of it shouldn't even be, that should be just an afterthought. I hope that this story and stories like it have the eventual ripple effect of creating that type of change and indiscriminately pursuing justice for justice's sake. And on a lighter note, I'm definitely looking forward to, and I hope this happens, so I'm going to try to speak it into existence, but I hope there's another episode or two of Serial, how Sarah Koenig put out episode 13 to tell us about what was going on with his release and stuff like that. But like an actual long form interview with Adnan. I got to check out also, maybe, I know Rabia had a podcast of her own, Rabia Chowdhury, which was the person that took the story to Sarah Koenig in the first place. Her little brother and Adnan were best friends, and that's how she knew him. And I know she had a podcast for some time, and she was like at odds with Sarah Koenig on certain things, so she started her own podcast. But I wonder if, since there's like a closer, like familial type relationship there, if Adnan would do her podcast, if she even still has it going. But yeah, we'll see. Time will tell. It would be dope though to hear his perspective after all this time, and not just after all this time, because we have heard from him obviously throughout the Serial podcast, but it would be interesting to hear what his mind state is after this outcome. But yeah, we'll see.